Mishnah 2. So what we're going to do today, at the risk of boring you all, what Pirkei Avos really is telling you is how to become the person you could become. Okay? Now, chapter 2, Mishnah 2 is a very beautiful Mishnah. So I'm going to read a bit of it and then I'm going to digress into Pesach for good reason. Rabbi Gamliel ben Eishal Rabbi Yehuda. Now, in the last Mishnah, we learned about Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi. Now we're going to learn about his son, Rabbi Gamliel ben Eishal Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi Omer. He said as follows, Yofa Talmud Torah im derech eretz. Now remember, we're learning all this in memory of Mark Wayner's neshama and anybody else's parents in heaven. Yofa Talmud Torah im derech eretz. Torah is good with derech eretz. Because the effort of both of them makes you forget sin. Now, what does that mean, actually? What does derech eretz mean? There are two explanations in derech eretz. One explanation in derech eretz is hard work. When a person is sweating to do a mitzvah, and a person is sweating to earn a living, he's so occupied he doesn't have time to sin. There's another explanation in that, and that is derech eretz means bettering yourself, refining your character. Now, when you're born, if you put infrared glasses on, you'll see that besides the physical body, within our physical body, we have a spiritual soul. In fact, we have two souls. But that soul is made up of 10 parts, 3 intellectual powers and 7 emotional powers. So we have a godly soul that comes all the way down from heaven and encloses itself in an animal soul that also has 10 powers. What is our job while we live in this world? Our job is to refine our animal soul and to make our animal soul a godly soul. That's exactly what we're supposed to do. Now, when we read the story of the exile and exodus of Egypt, so there are 4 themes to the Torah. One is the story of the creation of the world. That's one. The second one is the do's and the don'ts. That's 2, the mitzvahs and the sins. Number 3 is the tabernacle, which we're currently studying in the Torah at the moment. And number 4 is the central theme of the Torah, the story of the Jewish people going down to Egypt, living there for a while, prospering, suffering, being miraculously redeemed, and going back into Israel. That is really the story of each and every one of us. When our souls come down to this world, our soul comes into a mitzrayim. Mitzrayim means constraint. So the ancient word Egypt means constraint. What is our job to get out of our own mitzrayim? It's to get out of our own mitzrayim, to become the people we could be. Now let's think about what mitzrayim is. For some, mitzrayim is character flaw. For some, mitzrayim is insecurities. For some, mitzrayim is they got so much wealth they never even found out if they were worth anything. For some, it's so much poverty they don't know. For some, it's learning disability. Everybody has a different mitzrayim that you have to get out of. Now, how do you get out of mitzrayim? The whole year, think about it, every Shabbos we have to eat challah. We have to eat challah, we have to eat a few things on Shabbos. Why does Hashem want us to eat challah on Shabbos? Because it says that Shabbos blesses the days of the week. One of the key ingredients that we need to be successful during the week. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're supposed to be operating. And come Shabbos, we retreat. And we build ourselves up again. Therefore, whatever we do on Shabbos blesses the days of the week. So it's not that Shabbos is a day of rest completely. It's a day of rest from mundane work, a day of work, of spiritual work to get you ready for the next week. Because every moment of your life you have to be serving God. Good. What's one of the key ingredients that I need to be successful during the week? I need to have a good ego. That even if I have mucked up things in life, I've got to have sorted out my life, that I feel good about myself. You have to have a good ego. What's the problem? Good ego. Where do we get that from? So the Torah says we get that from bread, challah. So in other words, when you eat challah, think about this, be a bit abstract now. When you eat challah, when you eat bread, you're picking up the bread, that's why you put on weight. You're picking up the carbohydrate, that's why you get the energy as opposed to a protein. But you're also getting the spiritual energy because every single thing has a soul. So when Hashem tells you not to eat a prawn, it's because the soul is not good for you. When Hashem says don't eat the pig, it's because you'll pick up the negative characteristics of the pig. Now, what do we get from bread? Bread is bread and water, it's flour and water, and it's got a yeast, it's a bit of yeast, it's inflated. So when you absorb that yeast in you, when you absorb the bread in you, it's not by chance that God made it inflated. It's got inflated, it's got an ego in it. Bread has ego. When you eat that, you get an ego to help you be successful during the week. The problem with ego, by the way, is that so easily it can turn into arrogance. And once you turn into arrogance, that fine line between feeling good about yourself and being so cocksure of yourself, that's when you start to fall. That's when you start to stumble. And that's why 3 weeks before Pesach, what do? We start a program where we go throughout our house and we start cleaning our cupboards. 3 weeks before Pesach, like now, we start cleaning our cupboards. And then slowly but surely we come closer and closer where we clean out everything. And it comes the day before Pesach, we are absolutely chametz free in our house. Then the night before Pesach, we take a candle on the night of the 14th and we put 10 pieces of bread around the house and we search for chametz with the light of a candle. And then for 8 days, we only eat matzah. And it's crazy. I mean, people are very, very strict with the laws of Pesach. What is that all about? So when you have think about this, when you have an arrogance around you, when you're full of arrogance, without realizing it, that arrogance is penetrating, there's an aura around you. And that aura around you goes throughout your house, it penetrates your walls, it penetrates your cupboards, it penetrates underneath your cupboards, it penetrates everywhere. So you can't see it, by the way. There's some people who are so crass that if they smash somebody, they don't even think that they've smashed somebody. Even the thoughts that you have, the negative energies that you have, the negative feelings that you have, the depressions, all that creates an aura, an ambience, an aura in the house. And that becomes, let's call it a clip, it becomes like a chametz. And it goes into the cupboards and goes everywhere. So when we clean the house now, we're not just cleaning it for regular chametz, we're cleaning it for spiritual chametz as well. And that's the idea why you're going to go clean out your house. Why you're going to clean out your house now, why you're going to clean out the cupboards. It's all about really getting a new energy in the home, or getting rid of the negative energy from your home. Good, let's come closer to home. The day before Pesach, let's examine our soul. Our soul has 10 parts to it, 3 intellectual, 7 emotional. I don't know if we've explained it ever in this year, but one day we will. 3 intellectual, 7 emotional. I'm sure most of you do know of it. Now, it could be, if there's a bit of chametz, so we've spoken about the chametz in our house, the chametz in our cupboards, the arrogance, the negative energy that holds us down. We've spoken about it in our house. We do that by literally going down and starting to clean out our cupboards and airing everything. But now let's come closer to home. Let's come to our soul itself. It could be that there are 10 pieces of chametz, of different pieces of chametz, attached itself to 10 parts of my soul. So that is why, according to Kabbalah, on Erev Pesach, you take the light of a candle, the candle is the soul, and you search for 10 pieces of chametz around your home. Your home is an extension of you. Your home is an extension of your body. By doing that Erev Pesach, you're getting rid of the chametz from the 10 parts of your soul. That your soul in Erev Pesach becomes clean. And then what do you do afterwards? You mevatl it, you nullify it, you sell it, you burn it, you do all sorts of things. Right? You get rid of any chametz on you or any hold that you have on chametz. And it comes Pesach and you are absolutely pure to recreate yourself. That is absolutely fantastic. It'll come out that the Seder plate, when you build, we take these things for granted at the Pesach Seder. The Seder plate actually corresponds to the 10 powers of your soul. Right? There's 6 things on it, the 3 matzahs, and the Seder plate itself is 10. Interesting, 10 parts of the soul. Now, what I would like to do just for the next week or two, is I want you to WhatsApp me afterwards if you want to continue, or if you want to go back to Pirkei Avos. But Pirkei Avos does say that derech eretz, that working yourself hard, will help you forget sin. So if anybody doesn't want to continue it, please WhatsApp me on the WhatsApp group, and I won't continue it next week. But let me tell you a story. When I was in yeshiva, anybody who's been to Toronto has probably been to Rabbi Plotkin Shul. Rabbi Plotkin was with me in yeshiva. His grandfather became a big sage. He came to the town of Lubavitch in the early 1900s, about 1912. And the fifth Lubavitch Rebbe took one look at him and he said, "You have schlechte midas. You have bad midas. I want you to go before Pesach, and I want you to roll the dough to make the matzah. And the sweating of that will help you refine yourself." That's what the Mishna is speaking about over here. It's not just speaking about hard work, labor outside, but when you're working hard for a mitzvah, you're refining yourself. When you're working hard now, with a love, by the way, with a love to clean out your house, with a sweat to clean out your house, you actually are transforming your house from a chometz sticker house into a spiritual health farm. And don't underestimate it. So therefore, it comes Pesach. You've cleaned out your house. You've searched for chometz. Your husbands have searched for chometz with the light of a candle. And now you are chometz free. What do you eat for a week? You eat matzah. What's matzah? What's matzah? Matzah is bread of humility. It's bread of faith. And that's why we look at matzah as medicine. What does it mean, medicine? When you consume matzah, and that's why you have to consume a certain amount, it gives you the humility, it gives you the faith to go out and achieve that which you have to achieve. But if you stay arrogant, you're going downhill. Now it comes out, by the way, and I would like to do this with you, Mishkachas Oven, because Pesach is the hardest festival, particularly for a lady. It's a very hard festival, but love your work, love it. The sweat of doing Pesach properly will transform your house completely and protect you from sin the whole year. And it says that somebody who's careful with the laws of Pesach will be protected from sin the entire year. Now think what happens. Now I'm gonna WhatsApp it to you as a text, but it's not my text, and I teach it slightly differently to the way the text that I'm going to teach you. Okay, because there are different ways of learning it. So it comes out now. You chometz free, Erev Pesach, you're chometz free, and you come home. In fact, before Pesach, I'll send you guys lots of stuff for your Seder table. It comes out Erev Pesach, you are now chometz free. And I want, just to be clear, it says a month before Pesach, you've got to start involving yourself in the laws of Pesach because they're just so complex, and the teachings of Pesach. So it comes now, Erev Pesach, you've cleaned out your house, you've cleaned out your soul, you're ready to go. How do I transform myself? I promise you, if you understand the Haggadah looks like an ADD book because it's all over the place. It is the most unbelievable book to help you transform your life. It is absolutely often. When the Mishna says a Mishkachas Oven, it's all in Haggadah. And by the way, some of the characters that we're going to speak about in the Mishnah are characters of the Haggadah. Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah, they're all there. Now think about what you do when you come home. So you've recreated the Seder plate. And I've told you the Seder plate has 10 parts to it, corresponding to the 10 parts of the soul. Now the first thing you do when you come home is everybody's standing together and you do a 15-step program. Now it's interesting, 15 is God's name of Yud-Hey. Yud-Hey, a name of God that you want to draw down, one of the highest names of God. And they're 15, Yud-Hey, it's like they're 15 Shira Malos, they're 15 steps at the Seder table. The first thing is Kaddish. What does Kaddish mean? I'll do it briefly. What does Kaddish mean? So you say Kaddish, Urchatz, you announce them before you start the Seder table. What does Kaddish mean? Kaddish means separating yourself. The Hebrew word Kaddish means to separate yourself. When a man marries a woman, he says, may you be separate from everybody else and come to me. You've sanctified me, i.e. you're separate from everybody else, and after Chuppah we'll become one. So the word Kaddish means separate yourself from who you were. The first step to change your life is becoming a new person. And you know what? We all have the wherewithal to do it. The problem is when we make this resolution, we don't really mean it. We go back to the way we were. We get up and we resolve we're going to become new people. And then somebody insults us and somebody hurts us, bang, and we go back to the way we were. We resolve we're going to start a diet, and we walk past the kitchen and we see whatever we see and we eat, and we say, we'll start tomorrow. The ability of Kaddish, that's why, what does Kaddish mean? On Friday night you make Kiddush. On Yom Tov you make Kiddush because you're separating yourself. It's not one of the regular mundane days of the week. This is a different day of the week. So Kaddish means start anew, begin new, become a new person. When can you become a person? After you've got rid of the chometz out of your house. After you've got rid of the chometz by searching with the light of a candle. After you've nullified and sold and burnt the chometz, you have the ability to become a new person, Kaddish. So I really think that what we should be thinking about now is in what area, if in any area, do we want to become new people? That's Kaddish. That is Kaddish. When I can resolve to be a new person, when I can resolve to be the person I'm not, that's when I'm going to change my life. And nobody then is going to bring me down because I've resolved I'm going to do it. It's like somebody resolves they're going to run a marathon. And people laugh and mock at them. It's up to them. Do you want to be mocked at or do you want to do it? Just go and do it. That's Kaddish. Now, the second step that I need to changing my life is now that I'm a new person, why did I fall before? What made me fall before? What made me sin? Remember, the Mishna we're dealing with now is Mishkachas Oven, that it doesn't give you time to sin. So what gives you the opportunity, what gives you the wherewithal not to sin? So you know why I sinned before? Because my mind wasn't my moral compass. What was my moral compass? What was my moral compass? My moral compass was my heart. Let me clarify how that works. We both have a mind. We all have a mind and we have a heart. When the heart wants something, I'm jealous of somebody, and then I get my mind to justify the jealousy because I find some stupid fault in the person, which is not really a fault anyway, and that's the way I justify it. My heart is governing my mind. The Torah says my mind has to govern my heart. What does it mean my mind has to govern my heart? That when I want to do something, my mind has to tell me if it's right or wrong. Not that my mind is polluted by my heart. Sometimes our minds are so polluted by our hearts we can't even think straight. You've got to be able to get your mind to control your heart. How do you do that? How do you do that? So why did I sin up until now? Because my heart wanted something. My heart was jealous of somebody, got my mind to justify it, and then I spoke the Lashon Hara. My heart wanted a bit of non-kosher stuff, whatever it might be, got my mind to justify it. But if my mind was thinking properly, it wouldn't have done it. If my mind was the moral compass, my heart wouldn't have listened. How do I get my heart to control my heart? How do I get my mind to control my heart? So the first thing we do is Kaddish. We start anew. That's a new thing. You've got to start anew. The second thing is urchatz. The second thing we do at the Seder table is washing your hands. Now, why do you wash your hands in the morning? Why do you wash your hands before bread? And why do you wash your hands at the Seder table? And you'll see at the Seder table we do it twice. And the reason is as follows. When you get up in the morning, your hands might be dirty because they could have touched different parts of your body. There's another explanation. That there's a spirit of death that spreads over your body when you sleep, and when you get up in the morning, that spirit of death leaves and remains in the fingernails. We won't go through that now. There's a third reason why you wash your hands in the morning, and it's fantastic. And that is, every single thing has a soul. It has soul energy. What's the soul energy of water? Remember, water is naturally colder than its environment, on the one hand. And on the other hand, water is very gushy, can be very gushing, can be still or gushing. When I'm thinking something through, I'm very cold, please don't disturb me. That's why sometimes you can talk to somebody thinking about somebody who doesn't even know you're there. Mine can be very cold, but when you're teaching, you can be very gushy. What are your hands? Your hands are an extension of your emotions. So when you wash your hands in the morning, so water, we always say, has the energy, the soul energy of intellect. My hands are an extension of my emotions. You can't see what I'm feeling, but you can see if I'm bored, you can see if I'm active, whatever it is. So my mind is an extension of my heart is my hands are an extension of my emotions. God blessed me with another day this morning. I got up this morning, and God's given me another day. What's going to make me successful every day? When my mind controls my heart. So the first thing I do when I get up in the morning, after I thank God for giving back my soul, I wash my hands. What I'm really doing is elevating my emotions. That's why the bracha is al netilat yadayim. You don't say al, for those who know Hebrew, you don't say al rechitzit yadayim. Thank you, God, for giving me the opportunity to wash my hands. So thank you, God, for giving me the opportunity to elevate my hands, to elevate my emotions. So when I get up in this morning, I wash my hands. Simple reason, because my hands could have touched dirty places, private places in my body. Secondly, my hands could be dirty with the spirit of death. Thirdly, because my mind has to elevate my emotions. That's the real reason. That's the same reason why a person washes their hands before they eat bread. Because no matter how knowledgeable you are, no matter how full you are, when a person sees food, you become a bit animalistic. You want to eat more. Let my mind control my heart. And that's the same thing why here in the Haggadah you wash it as well. What does that mean? My mind, I've just started anew. I'm a new, fresh person. I'm fresh, I'm clean, I've started new. Nothing's going to pull me down, but now my mind has to control my heart. So straight after I go wash my hands. And I wash my hands in order to get my mind to control my heart. Let's go back to the Mishnah. When the Mishnah says, right, derech eretz, learning Torah and derech eretz will help you forget sin. That's derech eretz. It's working, not just working in a job. It's working in a mitzvah. All these mitzvahs are meant, every single mitzvah is meant to allow us, to enable us to become the people that we could become and live life to its fullest. Now, let's just take it a step further. Let's take it a step further. And what does the Mishnah go on to say? That if any Torah that doesn't have malacha with it, that if you're not working to better your character, the Torah is not going to stay. So here's the work I want to speak about, this Mishnah, this teaching. If I want to continue on the straight and narrow, the question you have to ask yourself is why, if I've mucked up my life and I have things to regret, surely I should be wallowing in guilt about them. The Torah says no. First thing you do is you start anew. You put it behind you. You forget about it. In fact, I'm going to send you all, I don't know if I sent it to you last week, I'm going to send you all 2 video clips of the Rebbe speaking for a minute each, telling people to put their past behind them. So the first thing you do is you start anew. The second thing is you get your mind, you control your heart. But then you have to think a little bit. You have to think a little bit about the mistakes of the past. You can't just say it never happened, because that'll motivate you never to sin again. You do take them out the drawer and think about the mistakes of the past. That is taking the karpas, the bitter vegetable, in the tears, in the salt water. That's about remembering the past a bit. Now, you can't start with that, because if you start with that, you wallow in guilt, you'll never stand up. But you do have to think about it for a little bit. That's the idea of karpas. If you remember the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. Sodom and Gomorrah were 2 cities that God destroyed. He tells Lot and his wife and family, you can escape, but don't look back, because you'll become a pillar of salt. She looks back and she becomes a pillar of salt. What is that weird story all about? Well, Sodom was a city that had become so corrupt. They were perverted capitalists that didn't allow charity to be given. And one day a young girl was caught giving charity. They painted her with honey and they fed her to the bees. She cried up to God, and God said, okay, I'm destroying the city. Because they didn't want charity to be given. Charity socialism. You'll have poor people living there. This was like a fancy club. So how does that relate to our lives? Sometimes we fall into Sodom. We become a bit corrupt. If we don't get out of that Sodom, our life is going to go up in flames. Sometimes a little voice speaks to us and says, get out, change. But when you do change, don't keep looking back, because if you look back, you'll become a pillar of salt. What is salt? Salt within itself is inedible. If it dominates a dish, you can't eat it. A little bit of salt brings out the flavor in the potato. And the same thing with us in life. You can't keep wanting, you've got to put your past behind you. But occasionally, before you go to sleep at night, or Erev Yom Kippur, you've got to just think about, hey, I did muck up a little bit. That's why it says that Kriya Shema Shalom before you go to bed at night. It's like a Yom Kippur for the day. You're supposed to think about, you're supposed to stock take for the day and better yourself for the next day. Al-Jewish law is amazing, all these things that it has. So the first thing that you have to do is you have to start afresh. The second thing, as the Mishnah says, you've got to work hard. Derech Eretz. You've got to then get your mind to control your heart, and that is hard work. The third thing you have to do is you have to take a little bit of bitter vegetable and put it in salt water. You do have to think about the past a little bit. What's the fourth thing you do? The fourth thing you do is, straight after that, is you break the matzah. What does it mean you break the matzah? The matzah corresponds to the person. In fact, you break the matzah into 5 pieces, according to Kabbalah, corresponding to 5 dimensions of the soul. Because how do you feel? This is amazing. How do you feel after you've thought through your life? And you said, gee, I've lost this opportunity. I'm mucked up here, I'm mucked up there. You feel broken. That's the broken matzah. The matzah is the person. You feel broken. You feel broken. You feel, I'm mucked up. But what do you do straight after that matzah? The next thing you do is soften. You hide that matzah away. What does it mean you hide it away? You don't stay broken. You can think about it for a minute, but you hide it away. Eventually, when that matzah comes back, right at the end of the meal, and by the way, it's a very important mitzvah to eat that matzah is called afikomen. What does afikomen mean? Dessert. How can it be dessert? Because the broken matzah, because of your makas. Because when you've got to a situation in life, when you've started anew, when you've got your mind to control your heart, when you do have a bit of remorse about the past, and then you've gone through the other steps of the Haggadah, that makeup will be that will be the dessert in your life, because that brought you to the highest level possible. Sometimes when you look back in life, it's the mistakes in life that can propel you and get you to be the best person you could have ever been. And that's what it's all about. And now I'll finish reading the Mishnah. Now I'll finish reading the Mishnah quickly. But with your permission, I just want to go through it until Pesach. Okay. When is Torah good? When it comes with work, or as we said over here, refining yourself. Because when you're working hard in learning Torah, and you're either working hard in a living or refining your character and cleaning your house for Pesach, you're going to forget sin. Any Torah that doesn't have hard work with it, that doesn't have cleaning the house for Pesach and doing all these mitzvahs, will eventually stop and lead to sin. Why? Because when you're working hard in these mitzvahs, however hard it is, it's actually refining. Every single time you push yourself to clean the house, to do this, you're actually refining your body, you're refining your thought, speech, and action. And we will stop there in this exciting episode of the Mishnah. And please God, you shall all be blessed with a good week. And I will see you all next week. Cheers.